and we are continuing literally from where we left off last week, reading from Alone Book One. And I'm continuing on the same chapter. And the chapter is still chapter 3, titled Rescuing Men, but there are many, many themes in that chapter. You would have those of you who are returning subscribers, returning viewers, thank you so much. But you'd recall that it started with my whole rescue syndrome. Then I touched on how the rescue syndrome is linked to my relationship with my father, my relationship with men, my relationship with boys. Then I read a passage on my pivotal moment where I was thoroughly beaten by boys. And now I'm continuing on another pivotal moment that happened to me around 8, 9, 10, those ages. That speaks of how cases like Cwecwe are not new. And we may not have all been brutalized and had the brunt of Cwecwe's case, but many of us have had something along those lines, something really weird and violating and grooming happening in those early tender ages as little girls. And today it's the 22nd of May, 2025. I want to mention this date. I'm mentioning this date for a reason, because yesterday, the 21st of May, 2025, our South African president and his team were in the Oval Office, ironing out a whole lot of issues, which I'm not going to get into. But I just want to mention one particular moment that for me made me even say, yes, I need to read this passage and maybe speak of it. It was from Zingiswa Losi, the president of COSATU, in the Oval House, in the world stage. She spoke of how rife rape and gender toxicity, and she was putting it as part of the crime in the country. But just for her to mention that just made me think, like, actually, we come from far with this thing. And I have written a small passage. I mean, my book is very small, especially the first book, but it is punchy. It covers almost all societal issues, in this tiny book. I am reading it here on YouTube because I think, as authors in South Africa, some of the best places to showcase our work, to bring our books to our audience, to find new readers is here on YouTube. But more than that, I'm reading from my books. I'm reading from my stories. I'm reading and I'm sharing my experiences and my pivotal moments with you, with the hopes that you might find inspiration so that you are able to write yours. When I autograph books, and I say this ad nauseum, when I autograph books for new readers, I always say at the end, here is my story. I cannot wait to hear yours. And I actually mean it. I really, really mean it. So I hope that as you follow these diaries of a memoirist here on the Lebipule channel, you will find courage and hope and inspiration to actually put pen to paper and write yours. Maybe it might not be a book like this, but as a blog, as essays, as health Facebook posts, or just coming here on YouTube and sharing your story. And for me, it is so important that as Black South African women, we tell these stories, we tell and share our experiences. Because when we share our experiences, when you hear someone's story, you always locate yours and theirs. And when we all locate our stories, however small, in someone else's story, we have what I call a collective healing moment. And we heal by sharing and telling each other stories. And as you tell your story, as you share your story, whether you write it or you tell it directly on a video, you are releasing it from your body. You are taking it out of your nervous system. You are literally healing. And whoever is witnessing to that, whoever is listening to that, also kickstarts her own healing journey. Because women in particular do not heal in isolation. We heal as a collective. There, I did it again, and I sort of reflected before I read, but it's okay. It's okay. And if you have just stumbled upon this video and you just saw this pretty face talking, my name is Lebipule. I don't know what I'm gonna do when the looks fade. Because beauty fades. Anyway, and I don't even know if I'm the standard of beauty. If you've just stumbled upon this video and you don't know who the hell I am or what the hell I'm talking about, because she's just rambling and she's so cute. My name is Lebupule. I am a memoirist. I have authored two memoirs with the third one in the oven. I'm also a life coach and a teacher, and I have a private space on Patreon for you to join and become a member for all my other deeper teachings. But here on YouTube, I read, I reflect, and I share some thoughts, and I leave you with some things to think about. And I hope I leave you with more questions than answers, because then my job is done. The more questions we have, the more we dive deep, the more we find a way of bringing about new answers. And like I said, I hope this inspires you to write your own story. So now I'm going to read. And I'm going to read from where I left off. Let us do the classes thing. Okay. So you will remember the last time I left it off, I was talking, I read about the violence in Alex, and I spoke about the political space as well, the rivalry between the Azapos and the ANC. And just to be fair, also the ANC members of the time used to hack the Azapos, just in case it feels like I was being biased towards the Azapos. Remember, my brother belonged to the ANC side. And so it is easy to just assume that it was the ANCs that were being targeted, but also the Azapos were being targeted. And just, to put another twist, my daughter's father, Kenny, was an Azapo, and him and my brother had they used to just nod at each other. Later, obviously, after I had solo and all that, it was very fascinating. Yeah, thought I should throw that in. So now I'm continuing on a different pivotal moment that then brings us to the fact that, we are all Cwecwe, or we are all almost Cwecwe. Okay. In our yard was a man who used to send young girls to the shops to buy him cigarettes or fizzy drinks or this or the other. I did not know why, but he used to make me very nervous. I was one of the girls that he always liked to call on, but I always somehow found excuses not to go, not to honor his calls, But from time to time, obviously, you do, and we were raised like that, that if a grown-up is calling you to send you to a shop or whatever you do, you're obliged. That's literally how we grew up, Rona, in Alex. I was one of the girls he liked to call on, but I always came up with excuses. Maybe it was because he always wanted me to fetch the money from his dingy room, or perhaps it was the way he looked at me. As young girls, as young people, as small children even, our intuition is at its sharpest, and this is why it is so sad that children are not believed half the time. But anyway, topic for another day. But I had it instinctively, intuitively, that something is off with him, and the way he looked at me was super weird. One day he was standing outside the main yard gate with two other men, and they were smoking. He called me and sent me to buy him a pack of matches. I have this because I burn incense and I light candles these days in the house. One day he was standing outside the main gate yard with two other men, and they were smoking. He called me and sent me to buy him a pack of matches. Reluctantly, I complied. When I came back, he was no longer at the gate. One of the men told me that he had gone to his room. I instinctively knew something was amiss. I asked one of the men to give him the matches for me. You know that thing, like, okay, matches. The man scolded at me for not respecting grown-ups and sending him to deliver matches. Who was I to send him? I nervously went to deliver the matches. The door was ajar, and the interior was dark and gloomy. My plan was to put the matches on the table and run out. As my eyes adjusted to the room from the bright sun, you know how you were in the bright sun and then you walk into a room, it's kind of darkish, and then your eyes take like a minute or a moment to adjust. As my eyes adjusted from the bright sun, I saw him there on the bed. no t-shirt, only his underwear. And as he saw me, he exposed his very big and very erect penis. He had a creepy smile on his face. I threw the matches on the floor and raced out. I was so scared. I mean, you can imagine a 7-year-old, 8-year-old, 9-year-old child looking at something that looks so, so strange. And I mean, at that age, I had seen my cousin's penis, my brother Tumelo, my younger brother. So I know that a penis is, what is it? And then to see it magnified like that from a grown man, yeah, it kind of looked scary. Um, I nearly said something too soon. I will say it one day when you guys here on YouTube are used to me. I threw the matches on the floor and raced out. I was so scared. A few months later, my friend's mother was up in arms, screaming and crying and protesting. Rumor had it that he had raped my friend, another of his victims. He was a pedophile, and there were no consequences for his transactions. Obviously the community was up in arms, and we all knew. But by consequences, I mean like the law and the police. I mean, those days it was really hard to report such things. Even today, the reporting is still a bit weird, as you know, and the law is strange around such things. It was obviously worse in the 80s. He was a pedophile, and there were no consequences for his transactions. Furthermore, older men targeted young girls, and this was another accepted practice in a way. And I say accept because I don't think it was, but it was accepted practice. They would groom young girls, telling them, "Wangkulela, uyangkulela," which means you are growing up for me. A string of men like that. I had a string of men like that for whom I was apparently growing up for. And I'm gonna leave it there. You remember that whole thing, you'd be 10 or 12, and then there'd be this man who's 22 or older saying Wangholela and targeting you, meaning, you are you're gonna be mine. And yeah, those dynamics were quite rife in the 80s. There was also another one that was more in Soweto, but then it also happened in Alexandra, but it was big in Soweto. Remember the jack rolling, where a girl, I mean, a teenage girl, you could be 13, 14, 15, and you'd be hijacked, you'd be kidnapped rather, sorry, kidnapped and kept in some room for days on end where you were gang raped. And then you'd be shamed for it. So you are the one that's abducted, you are the one that's gang raped in some corner somewhere. And when you are returned, you are the one that's shaved. I know of a girl, I'm not going to mention her name, who the last I heard, and by the last I mean around 2020, around COVID era, when I asked, she was in a mental institution. She never recovered from being jackrolled. So this whole thing of Cwecwe and many other cases, I mean, there are many that we can talk of in South Africa. Those things started from a long time ago. And it is about time that we speak about them in this format, not when it happens and we are bruha and we are hashtagging and we are standing in courts. Those things are fine too. But the more of us talking about it in this reflective format, in this healing, and there's nothing wrong with obviously hashtags and social media. That's what it is there for, to expose and for awareness and so on. But the more we also share our own personal experiences and in a reflective format, in a way that wants to share and bring awareness to men, because I don't think a lot of men understand, and share such that the end goal is healing. The end goal is letting go. The end goal is finding some form of solution so that these things do not repeat or these things get less and less and less. But yeah, I wanted to just say, yeah, I wanted to just reflect on that to close this chapter on me and men and boys from my book Alone, Growing Up in Alexandra. Next week, I will, or rather from this Sunday, I will start on a new chapter. I'm not sure where, I'm not sure what direction I want to take. We still have quite a bit. We still haven't even touched on my entrepreneurial journey, my journey in the corporate world. It was so weird for me when I started working. and a few other themes before we get to chapter 2, to book 2. But yeah, we have time. I'm here to stay. I must say I'm enjoying it, and I want to thank the subscribers. Help me get to 100 subscribers. I never thought I would say this. I have like 23,000 followers on Facebook, and yet, yeah, I'm not even on 50 subscribers. Help me get to 100 subscribers, and let's see where that takes us. I'm not in a hurry. I'm here for a long haul. Diaries of a Memoirist is the beginning of my YouTube channel. There is a whole lot more that I want to do here, but this is where we started, and let's see where we end up. This, guys, is my story. I cannot wait to hear yours.